I'm MB Christie. I'm from Tech City, UK. We work with a lot of very fast scaling businesses who face this challenge, because it seems like what you've talked about with entrepreneurs is always this kind of idealistic early stage. It's all ideas. These companies are moving from 30 employees to 1,000, 2,000 employees in 3 years, and they have very big demands from the VCs. They really, really struggle with keeping that culture alive, that entrepreneurial spirit. Have you worked with any of them, and do you have advice for how they can create something that is as large as some of the corporations you've been talking to, but keep the spirit alive?
Well, having worked with a number of companies that have gone through that scaling issue, I'd say the biggest risk and challenge is the temptation is, as you scale, you want to bring in executives from larger companies who've been there before. Resist that temptation. They will come in and impose the scalable efficiency model that will squeeze out any and all entrepreneurial activity in the company. So that's my one piece of advice.
Any closing comments?
Yeah. My early research in entrepreneurship was on high growth companies, and I studied 100 of the fastest growing companies in Europe between 1995 and 1997. And one of the things that we learned from that study was that the hardest thing to scale for companies is the human dimension. And it's the one that, when you get scaling wrong, is the one that unravels. And so oftentimes, good entrepreneurs focus on the human dimension of the scaling quite explicitly, because the customer demand is there and the capital comes, but the bottleneck becomes their ability to integrate and maintain some sense of productivity. And I found that as a pattern across the companies that I studied, that the ones who really understood the importance of scaling the human dimension of their companies were the ones who were able to sustain growth over time. And maybe it wasn't quite as fast as it could have been, based on just pure demand, but it was fast enough that the company grew and prospered, but it was able to pedal faster than they might have otherwise.
We'll close with Philippe. You had a comment?
Yeah, just on that, you can look at the work of Robert Barron, who has used the term organizational blueprint. And it's very interesting because it shows that the key choices are made very, very early in the life of a startup, and they are extremely difficult to change after that. And so by the time you realize that you have to make those changes, sometimes it's too late. It's imprinted already, and it's extremely hard to change them. So a very conscious work extremely early in the process about this blueprint, and he highlights some sort of key models is extremely important. And of course, it's almost never done, because in the beginning we are all startups and friends and, you know, love each other and blah, blah, blah. And by the time you get serious, well, the blueprint is there, and then you struggle.